Good afternoon. We'll call the meeting of the Minot City Council to order today for Monday, March 7th, 2022. It is 5:30 in the afternoon. Would ask for everyone in the audience and up at the dais to go ahead and put our electronic devices on silent or on vibrate, and we'll keep the distractions down to a minimum today. Roll call, please.
Evans. Here. Janser.
Here.
Olson. Here. Pittner.
Here.
Padrigula.
Here.
Ross. Here. Sitma.
Here. Number 2 is Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Number 3 on our agenda this afternoon is the mayor's report. We'll start off with the first of the month, different meetings and activities. On the 8th, I did have the Souris Valley United Way's annual meeting. It was fantastic to see all of the great things that are going on within the community and different charitable endeavors that are being helped with those great folks, and certainly big plans ahead in the future as well. On the 8th, I also did have the opportunity to do some virtual reading for the Minot Public School elementaries around Minot. Derek had helped me with that, and my understanding it's been now replayed to about 7 different elementary classes around town, so it makes it a little bit easier than just going from classroom to classroom. Great to see that they're helping out in that way with my schedule. On the 9th, we did have the North Dakota Land Surveyors Annual Convention in Minot. That was actually over a couple of days. I was there to do a welcome and kind of give an update on what's all going on within the Magic City. You can see a number of other meetings there. On the 18th, I want to take note here on the state of the city and thank everyone who did attend for that. Understandably, it was a busy schedule. Not everybody was able to, but it was a sold out different luncheon for the folks, which was fantastic to see. I think we found the critical point for success, and that's Friday at lunchtime for people to attend. So I would expect or hope to see that continue on in the future. Great messaging and great feedback from the folks that attended from that. On the 22nd, we did have a Team Minot breakfast out at Minot Air Force Base. For those who aren't aware, it's a task force Team Minot event, and that's typically just catching up on all the different activities that are going on at Minot Air Force Base, and then also for downtown to relay that out to the wing commanders and other leadership. So again, just that constant communication between leadership between the 5th and the 91st and the other folks out at the Minot Air Force Base and the leadership downtown. On the 22nd, we did have a regular city council meeting. As we go on to the next page here, quite a few different things going on. On the 23rd, then, to follow up with the Citizen of the Year presentation, the nonprofit was selected to Project B for the $1,000 donation, and then that will go towards their capital campaign. That is just, again, a reminder for everyone, sponsored by a local business. Last year, I believe that was done by First International Bank and Trust, and this year it was actually my company, Farmers Union Insurance, that went ahead and sponsored that. And I say that in kind of purposeful meaning, is that it is local businesses that sponsor those dollars, not coming from the city for those donations. On the 23rd, then, Task Force 21, we were out at Minot Air Force Base. Again, this was for the U.S. Air Force Global Strike Commander, General Anthony Cotton. We cordially call him Tony Cotton. Again, he does have such a significant role playing right now more than ever with everything that is going on abroad. And it was certainly very appreciative that he took the time. Mark was out there as part of Task Force 21, Alderman Janser, and a number of the other folks from Task Force, and to be able to catch up and get a little bit of insight on the importance, once again, Minot Air Force Base and Global Strike and things that are coming down in the not too distant future. On the 25th, I did MC the Northern Plains Children's Advocacy Center Gala. That is the Champagne and Ice Gala. I will say this, if you haven't had the chance to ever participate in the Champagne and Ice Gala, it's a great event, but more importantly, the money raised that goes towards the Children's Advocacy Center. Phenomenal program within the community that makes a significant impact on helping the children and families who are affected by either physical or sexual assault in the community, and pay for a lot of those services and getting them to those different interviews and processes as they go through the court system. So big kudos again to all of the volunteers for that. March 1st, did a podcast interview on the mental health and wellness. I did recommend a few of the council members as well as future interviewees. So don't be surprised if you get a phone call on that. Then we did have a military affairs luncheon on March 3rd. That was with regarding GBSD and some of the changeovers in the coming years on the changeover from the ICBMs around to GBSD in the future. Finally, on March 4th, we did have the Minotauros back in Minot here for ceremonial puck drop that they asked me to participate. And at one point, they had come forward and asked to use the logo. So I did bring the jersey with me tonight that they did roll out here that shows the Magic City with the nice train, and it's got our logos right on the patch, right on the shoulders, and then they were nice enough to put a nice stitching on there for the back for me for that puck drop. They did win that match, by the way, Friday night in a shootout, 2-1. So congratulations to them. Before I go into my last page here, I do have to also say congratulations to the Minot High Swim Diving State Champs. That is a total of 30 since 1975 that they've taken home championships. So phenomenal job there. And then Minot High Boys Basketball WDA Champs. They're playing Thursday in Bismarck at the state. And then the Minot Girls finished second at WDA, and they are also in Bismarck for the State A Girls Basketball tournament. And that is coming up, I believe, Thursday as well. I know there's a bunch of other local teams that are coming up to regionals and things like that. We'll hit that a little bit later on. Outside of that, I did have about 14 other regular meetings regarding city business, and then a number of phone calls and emails and social media. I'd be happy to answer any questions on my different meetings and or activities. If not, I've got one other item here I want to take care of before we move on from the mayor's report, and if I could have Lance come up to the podium. Of course, I didn't bother to tell you that I was going to do this tonight, but so a while back, a very long while back, as we had been working through our different, not only flood control projects with the help of the SRJB, but within Lance's department, they've been working very, very diligently on our CRS program, on getting our different ratings. A few weeks back, Lance came up and said that we had actually earned the 6th category for our rating here, and FEMA has been nice enough to actually send out a plaque and at least put down the significance of all of the work that went into that. So for Lance and the rest of the folks within your department that have been working very, very hard on this, I have to say thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Because that is going to make a significant impact to the residents of Minot for years to come, for what we anticipate potentially 20 more years, depending on how long it takes us to get flood control done. So a big thank you to all of your staff.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that is the end of my report for tonight. Mr. City Manager.
First and foremost, as always, the city manager memo is included in the packet for the council and for the public to view. Be happy to answer any questions if there are any with regards to that report.
Any questions for our city manager on the report that was filed?
Not hearing any. You should have received an email invitation asking for interest. We have an invitation from Trinity Hospital for the council to take a tour of their new hospital that they're building. So we're in the process of getting that scheduled, hoping for the last week of this month. And then also, once we get a little bit more progress on City Hall, the new City Hall, staff would also like to take you through the new City Hall so you can see the progress, especially as we're seeing some of the new framing going up. You can start visualizing where things are going to go. I think you'll be happy and impressed with that. So look forward to some scheduling invites for those 2 tours coming up in the near future. And I don't have anything else to report this evening.
All right. Thank you, Harold. That takes us to our city attorney's report.
Mr. Mayor and members of council, I submitted a written report and I would take any questions.
Any questions for our city attorney?
Thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Item number 6 is a public hearing, 6.1. This is for the taxi license denial from Michael Pace. On February 24th, 2022, Michael Pace filed an application for a City of Minot taxi driver's license. A background check was conducted, which revealed that Mr. Pace had a conviction for assault domestic abuse filed on August 5th, 2018. The recommendation from the chief is that the City Council ratify the decision to deny a City of Minot taxi driver's license to Michael Pace based on his disqualifying criminal record. And perhaps I would look to our police chief for a bit more information.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. The license was applied for, and again, we've been here on this issue a number of times. The ordinance doesn't give a lot of room for leeway on that. It simply says shall be denied if it meets one of those criteria that I outlined in my letter. I guess in my opinion, a domestic assault is a crime of violence, and that's the reason for my denial.
Thank you, Chief. Any questions for Chief Klug? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Again, this is a public hearing for anyone to come forward and speak either in favor, in opposition, or neutral to the recommendations before us. One more time, a call for public hearing, comments on the recommendations before us. Seeing none, what are the wishes of council? Alderman Pittner.
Mayor, I move that we close the public hearing and deny the application based off recommendation of staff.
Motion to close the public hearing and deny the applications, but with recommendations from staff. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Olson. Discussion on the motion. Any discussion on the motion? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve the denial of the license per recommendations of staff. Please call the roll.
Pittner,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Motion is approved. 6.2 is a public hearing, the 2022 Renaissance Zone Development Plan revision. The Minot Renaissance Zone has provisions for a property tax exemption. The state of North Dakota allows cities the flexibility to set its property tax provisions as a condition of program modification. Changes to the attached development plan must be updated and adopted by the city of Minot and the state of North Dakota. The recommendations to the council is that the city council approve a minor revision to the city of Minot Renaissance Zone Development Plan and authorize staff to submit the revised development plan to the North Dakota Department of Commerce Service for final approval. Again, this is a public hearing for anyone to come forward and speak either in favor, in opposition, or neutral to the recommendations to the council. One more time for a call for public comment on the recommendations before us. Seeing none, what are the wishes of council? Alderman Pittner.
Mayor, I move that we close the public hearing and approve the item with recommendation from staff.
Motion to close the public hearing and approve the item with recommendations of staff.
Second.
Is there a second? Second by Alderman Janser. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Pittner,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Motion is approved. That takes us to number 7. This is the consent items. We have 12 different items in our consent agenda. All items will be considered with consent as recommended by staff. If any one item needs to be pulled for individual consideration, please let us know now and we will pull it for individual discussion. All right. Seeing none, what are the wishes of council?
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Alderman Ross.
I move approval.
Motion by Alderman Ross to approve on consent. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Pittner. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve all consent items with on recommendations. Please call the roll.
Ross,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Olson,
Yes.
Pittner,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Motion is approved. That is the end of the consent agenda items. That takes us to Section 8. This is the action items. 8.1 is the 16th Street West Road Diet with bicycle lanes, item 4624. The engineering department completed a 16th Street West corridor study that analyzed traffic operations and the safety for a 16th Street West study area that stretched from 4th Avenue Northwest to Burdick Expressway West. Two alternatives were examined in depth, first being the existing conditions and second being that of a road diet with three-lane roadway. The proposed project is to implement a road diet on 16th Street West in two phases. The first between 4th Avenue Northwest and 2nd Avenue Southwest and would be incorporated into the City of Minot's 2022 Street Seal Project. The second phase would be between 2nd Avenue Southwest and Burdick Expressway West and be included in the 2025 NDDOT Urban Roads Project. The recommendations to the council: first recommendation to approve to convert 16th Street West from 4th Avenue Northwest to 2nd Avenue Southwest from a 5-lane roadway to a 3-lane roadway with bicycle lanes as part of the 2022 City of Minot Street Seal Maintenance Project, and to approve to convert 16th Street West from 2nd Avenue Southwest to Burdick Expressway West from a 5-lane roadway to a 3-lane roadway with bicycle lanes as part of the 2025 North Dakota Department of Transportation Urban Roads Project. We do have Stefan Jors, who is here to tell us a little bit more about this project.
Mayor, Sibber, members of council, I don't have a formal presentation prepared for this, but I will take questions on it. One kind of add on to what the mayor said. The mayor outlined the plan of what and where we want to implement the road diet. The why is there are some safety aspects on this roadway related to crashes, related to access management that we can help alleviate with converting 16th Street West from a 4-lane roadway to a 3-lane roadway. With that, I'll take any questions you have. We do have the report available too if we need to go through that.
Any questions for our traffic engineer? Alderman Padragula.
Thank you. I had 4 areas to talk about with you publicly. Normally, I'd give you a call because some of the stuff's very technical, but I'll try to stay as general as I can.
Yep.
I guess the first question I had to ask is, what drew your attention to this area of all the streets we have? Why the proposal for this one?
So a couple factors. I drive this road every day. This has been on my mind for a couple years now. And the time to convert it to a road diet is matching up right now. We're chip sealing 16th Street from 4th Avenue Northwest down to 2nd Avenue Southwest. And the perfect time to do a road diet, or you could say modifying your road cross section, is with a pavement resurfacing project, because you're cleaning the slate. So that's the perfect time to do that. Hopefully that answers your question.
So kind of your subjective judgment, impression as a traffic engineer and someone who drives this daily is this is something we should fix or improve. Am I correct?
Correct.
Okay. The second question I had was in terms of capacity and flow issues. In the past, we've been, I think, told, or at least I've understood, that 16th is becoming a major north-south pathway. And we've tried for years to get more people off of Broadway. And I think the 3rd Street Northeast and the 16th Street Northwest and 8th Street Northwest are kind of the alternatives. I did look at the chart in your report, and I was surprised that the numbers of cars have been going down. Again, my expectation has always been that this would become a busier and busier street. In the past couple of years, traffic has picked up a little bit, but it's still fairly low compared to what it used to be. What impact would this have on the capacity of the roadway and the speed of traffic flowing through?
So with a road diet, generally the rule of thumb of max ADT, max traffic volume that we want to look at is about 20,000. 16th Street in this area ranges between 9 and 12,000 cars, so there's plenty of capacity there. Regarding, Derek pulled it up right here, traffic volumes have gone down. There's a couple things that, may be attributed to this. Between 2014 and 2020, or 2021 especially, the Northwest Bypass got completed. That expansion right there, and then also the Broadway Bridge reconstruction also happened during this time period. So that could be why, we saw an increase, in the 2014 to 2017, and why we see a decrease now. Is people are going back to Broadway, people are going back to the bypass because it's an easier road. Touching back on one earlier comment on that question is 16th is a main road off of Broadway. But 16th, if you look at, 16th is a long road in town. There's certain parts of it that act as more of a residential, local roadway, and there's parts of it that act as a commercial corridor. So a road diet doesn't work for the whole stretch of road. We're just looking at the segment of 16th where it's applicable.
Do you see it playing a more important role in terms of moving traffic north-south, or is it just going to slowly kind of go up a little bit if the trend continues, or what?
As far as moving traffic north-south, I don't see, we ran the models of existing traffic and then also a 25% increase in traffic, and it really doesn't impact flow too much. Going from, especially at the intersections where we have 5 lanes down to 3, it does impact it a little bit, but it's negligible from your day-to-day. One other aspect is speed. This will help uniform the speed throughout the corridor, throughout that little segment, versus with the 4-lane, you can have faster and slower vehicles on there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think here. And when I read your report, if I remember correctly, I think you said with the narrowing of it, the dieting, kind of a loaded word for me right now since I'm more portly than I should be. Don't want to be reminded about that. But you said it would slow people down maybe 2 to 5 seconds over a significant stretch of the street. Am I correct in that?
I can't remember that exactly, but road diets in general, we're also going to shrink up the lane width. We want traffic to be calm, traffic calming. So we can kind of implement aspects of that into the road diet.
Because when I talked with people about that, everyone I've talked with, I should mention, has been surprised by this and has not been thrilled with it. Again, they're not engineers, you are. But I think we'll have to have a significant public education campaign because the general feeling is, 50-plus people I polled, that if you narrow it, you won't be able to get as much traffic through as many cars, and you're telling us that that's not the case.
Correct.
Okay, so I think people are going to need to be convinced of that or informed of that. That helps. And the final area, or I guess the next to the final area of questioning I had was in terms of speeds. You said it'll make the speed more uniform, which I think is a good thing. Is it going to slow people down, you think, or speed them up, or keep them pretty much the same, or what?
It's a little bit of a subjective answer there, but I would say err on the side of slow people down.
So it should slow people down?
Correct.
Okay, because I know that, the part there by Oak Park, for example, where it curves, people seem to go fairly fast. They see it as not a straightaway, but a curve away. And I've seen some accidents there, and people lose control in the winter during that curb. So if they're slowed down, that might help. I was also particularly impressed by the argument that this will reduce sideswipe collisions. I know I don't like having to drive next to 2 lanes of traffic coming at me, going 30, 35 miles an hour or more. And I think if you have 1 lane of traffic to worry about, I think I subjectively would feel more comfortable. So I can see that argument. So should slow people down a little bit maybe and make things safer. And final question I had was, if we approve this, you mentioned that part of the reason for asking for it is that we're going to be doing some paving anyway. And I wanted to get your thoughts on doing it in 1 phase or in 2 phases. I know you mentioned in your report that it would be cheaper to do it in 2 phases, but they're separated by a couple of years. And I'm wondering what your take on that is in terms of people's expectations and the change, whether it's easier to make the change all at once or to phase it in from a, again, human factors engineering standpoint.
There's multiple ways to look at small segment to big segment. There's a significant cost factor that would come into play if we did between Second and Burdick standalone. The part that comes into play in the added cost is with the 2025 Urban Roads project, we're including diamond grinding. Basically, the concrete part of that roadway, we're gonna grind that road, give it a new surface, because we have groove pavement markings in that stretch, and that will kind of eliminate those. The issue that you could have if you did the whole stretch at one time is what I'm calling ghost pavement markings. You know, when it rains, you know, that marking's gone. Technically, the white stripe is gone, but the area where that white stripe is still there. So you can kind of get some confusion on which lane do I be in. You know, we got this extra stripe down the middle of the road. That's probably what leans me more to separate this out versus doing the whole stretch at once.
So it'll be less confusion for people. Hopefully they'll find out more quickly where they should be going and hopefully make it safer.
Correct.
Okay. Okay, and I'm satisfied with those answers. The report was impressive. I mean, I was very skeptical, to be honest with you, when I first saw the proposal. But when you analyze the data, when you teach us some basic traffic flow and engineering principles, it makes sense. Like I said, if we do approve it, I think a concerted public relations, public education effort will be necessary, because that's not how people see it. I wish they had the time to read the 19-page report, but I think if you do, you probably will be persuaded, as I was. So thank you for the careful and thorough analysis, and I changed my mind.
Thank you. And shout out to Derek with the video he posted last week, and then we are working on another one as well.
Any other questions at this time? Alderman Janser.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, since the agenda came out, I've had a couple of people ask me, and so just sort of to get that answered out here in public. So in the winter time, is the intention to keep the bike lane part of the roadway clear of snow, or what's the intention there? Is it a year-round bike lane operation, or what's your feeling on that?
Similar to 16th Street on the northwest by Marketplace. You know, I think we're going to try to keep it clear, but it does give space for excess snow storage, especially during those heavy snowfalls.
Okay, thank you. If I may continue.
Yes, continue, and we'll go to Alderman Ross
And then
next.
the other question I've got is maybe you could talk a little bit about the concept of the center turn lane. You know, I know we have that on Broadway, obviously, and you know, some people call that the suicide lane. You know, that they're concerned about, you know, making a move to turn one way and somebody coming from the opposite direction. Is there data, or how do you? What can you tell us about that issue?
Derek, can you go to? Yeah, this is good enough. So 16th Street in this area is a little unique in that center turn lane. You know, 90% of that traffic in there is going to be taking a northbound left. There's not too many attractions or access points to make the southbound left. So that is one difference of Broadway, where we got, you could say, accesses and people are taking a left both north and south. In this stretch, we got most of these people are going to be northbound left vehicles. The benefit of an added turn lane here is you're taking those left turning vehicles, you're removing them from the through lane where people are, you know, supposed to be going straight and through, and moving them into a dedicated, basically an area where you can stop and wait without fear of getting rear-ended.
Okay.
Hopefully I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying those things.
Alderman Ross.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Stefan, talk about, you know, over the next few years, the northwest part of town with the high school and potential new development, and I know it's quite a ways away, but 16th Street is going to be the potential to increase the traffic on there is it's there because of the development on the northwest end of Minot using 16th Street as an artery going north and south. Talk about that, and was that in the whole process of the study, the potential increase in traffic?
So going back just to highlight on the school, I mean, it's on our radar. 21st Avenue Northwest is we're anticipating to have more of an impact. We're working with the school to do a traffic study for that. 16th Street will be more analyzed with that. It was included a little bit, not necessarily called out here, but in the back of our mind we did an analysis of increasing traffic on 16th Street by 25%. In traffic engineering world, that's a pretty big increase. The general rule of thumb was, a 2% increase in yearly traffic. But in reality, most corridors, most roadways, I mean, taking out the school, most corridors actually about peak or actually decline in yearly traffic. But the school, that is going to have a big impact. Looking at potential school boundaries of that, with 4th Avenue being the cutoff, I don't know if traffic south of 4th Avenue is going to increase too much. It might be traffic north of 4th Avenue, because that's kind of the potential school boundary for that. We do have 16th Street between 4th Avenue and 21st Avenue is on our radar to possibly modify, improve, but we don't have an exact plan for that yet.
Thank you.
And perhaps Steph and I might be able to elaborate a little more, as I was traveling that road quite a few times to go up to some of the different groups of input for the new high school. And given the time frame that there happens to be an elementary school right up the road on 16th, and traveling that road about that time for my other job, it is infinitely quicker to jump on the bypass from 4th Avenue than to try to weave your way by the elementary school that's just to the north off of 4th Avenue at that time of the day. So just to add that input into any possible discussion as far as travel times to the north. Alderwoman Evans, did you have a question?
I did. So who is the decision maker for whether or not it's option 1, the whole segment, or option 2, partial segments?
I believe that would actually be City Council.
Okay. So is that part of our motion?
So we recommended to do it in segments.
Okay. Okay, good. You did, okay.
Basically do it north half and south half.
The first segment being 2022 and the second segment being 2025.
Right, I'm just looking at the memo.
Okay.
Okay, that's what I like, so.
Very last page.
Other questions at this time for our traffic engineer?
Okay, so
Go
what
ahead.
happens if, like, everybody hates it and it just doesn't work? What does it take to go back?
It's pavement markings, so it's pretty easy change.
Okay,
You just obliterate them, and you can lay down new pavement markings.
okay. I'm confident, we embrace the traffic circle. I'm confident we will embrace the road diet too, but, I was like having a plan B.
Yep.
Other questions at this time? Alderman Bittner.
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment if Stefan wants to sit down.
Any other questions at this time before we jump to comments? Alderman Bittner.
Thank you, Mayor. Again, I think this makes sense. Anyone that travels northbound on 16th Street, the left lane is essentially a turning lane. You're going to stop at Central Avenue, you're going to stop at 2nd Avenue, you're going to stop at 2nd Avenue Northwest, you're going to stop at 16th when it actually ends up being a turning lane, essentially. So I think this makes sense. When you really travel that road, and if you sit in the left lane, you're probably going to stop 2 or 3 times and have the risk of being rear-ended, or you're going to come up behind someone and sit there and wait for them to turn left. So having a designated turning lane, I think, is the most appealing thing for me, and you have a designated through lane on the right side. So again, I think this is, and like Stefan said, I have the map up. It's recommended to be 4th Avenue, the new high school boundary. So I think that keeping traffic that side where it is essentially a 2-lane road north of 4th Avenue, I'm excited to see the change and provide more walkability and pedestrian roadways and bicycle lanes, so I will support it.
Other comments? Any other comments? Just to add one final comment for me. This is also an area that has Perkett Elementary, just to the north of 2nd Avenue, or south of 2nd Avenue there, which has a substantial amount of backup traffic on that drive-through lane currently, at least twice a day, most of the year. Drive that as well. Both my kids went to Perkett before. This absolutely could see a substantial benefit in terms of the accident reduction. And I'm kind of harken back to some of the other discussions that we've had regarding some changes to traffic, whether it be the removal of some traffic lights that had some resistance, only to see that those concerns were not as significant as I think portrayed. It just comes down to a little bit of education, and change comes difficult sometimes, but I think that this has more than just benefit of the reduction of potential rear-end accidents, but also pedestrian traffic, so I'm going to support it as well. Final call for discussion.
I have one more question for our traffic engineer. I forgot to ask.
Alderwoman Evans.
So after this is all said and done, I'm assuming, right, you and your folks will like sort of study and analyze to see if it's having the impact you thought it would have?
Yes. So,
Like, how does that work? Like, what's the time interval on that? And
so you could say the unfortunate thing, the way to analyze a change like this is to look at crashes.
okay,
And usually with that, we have to wait a few years, just because you can't take a month and reply it to 4
Right.
years of data. So we're doing the same thing with our signal timing. It's just you have to wait a couple of years out to get a decent enough sample size.
okay. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Alderman Pittner.
I'll move approval on the item.
Thank you. I was just about calling myself out of motion here, as we still did not have a motion made. Motion by Alderman Pittner to approve both recommendations. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Evans. Further discussion on the motion. Let's call final call for discussion. Motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Pittner,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Janser,
Yes.
Olson. Yes.
Motion is approved. 8.2 is the 2022 Nuisance Abatement Award and Bid. This is 4761. This is the annual project to address nuisance on private property throughout the city. The project removes any nuisance located on private property following the procedure as outlined in municipal code. Work orders for individual properties are given to the contractor to abate as necessary and as funds are available. The recommendations to the council are as follows. City Council award the bid for the 2022 nuisance abatement rebid project to the low bidder, Hanson Excavating Inc., in the amount of $66,550. 2, approve the budget amendment ordinance, and 3, authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Alderman Janser to approve, second by Alderman Pittner. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Janser,
Yes.
Olson. Yes. Pittner,
Yes.
Padragula,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Sitma,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Motion is approved. 8.3 tonight is the 2022 Signal Cabinet Replacement Award and Bid. This is 4600.1. Many of the city traffic signal cabinets are outdated and replacement parts are sparse and non-existent. This is an ongoing project to replace them, and by upgrading the cabinets with new technology, staff can now link the signals along the corridor such as Broadway and time them. Recommendations to the council is recommend the council award the bid for the construction portion of the 2022 Signal Cabinet Improvement Project to the low bidder Main Electric Construction, Inc. in the amount of $322,543. 2, approve the budget amendment ordinance, and 3, authorize the mayor to sign.
Move approval.
Motion by Alderwoman Olson, second by Alderman Pittner. Discussion on the motion. Alderman Padragula.
Just a quick question for the traffic engineer. We talk often enough, or I should remember this, but how does this put us on the plan for replacing all of the cabinets? How far are we in that process?
We we've done a lot in the past few years.
I know.
will say that. We're probably 3 or 4 years out to getting the old of the old replaced.
So what percentage are we at?
Of getting all the cabinets updated,
Right.
probably 75%, give or take.
And you think we're maintaining a decent pace?
Correct. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, sir. Final call for discussion on the motion to approve. Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Olson? Yes. Pittner?
Yes.
Quadrigula?
Yes.
Ross?
Yep.
Sitma?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Motion is approved. 8.4 is amendment the 2022 Police Department budget for the purchase of a new canine training and equipment. The Minot Police Department has been collecting donations to pay for the expenses related to the purchase of a new narcotics and patrol canine. This will replace the last canine who was retired from the department in 2021. The donation process will require occasional budget amendments to appropriate the funds into the police department budget for the expenditure. The recommendation to the City Council was to approve the proposed ordinance to amend the 2022 Police Department's annual budget.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Janser. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderwoman Olson. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? Final call for discussion. Alderman Pittner.
I just have a question.
Chief Klug.
Is this replacing the dog and its features just in its entirety, or can it do explosives, or is that a completely different?
So this canine, Alderman Pittner, this canine will be a narcotics patrol tracking side of the house. It won't do explosives. And so far, the one dog we have for that has been able to maintain what we need it for. So
What? That was my only question.
Comment from a city manager.
Just to follow up on that question, several departments throughout the country are ceasing training dogs such as this for marijuana, because once the dog is trained to locate that, you can't untrain the dog from doing that. Any opinion on whether this will be a training capability for this canine unit?
Yeah, Mr. Stewart, we did have, actually our last canine we got for narcotics is not trained on marijuana, and that's our intent with this one as well. It kind of throws every case out as soon as it hits on a car because of the legal possibility with marijuana. So we've chosen to forego that training and just train it on the other stuff that we need it for.
Any other questions for Police Chief? Thank you, Chief. Any further discussion on the motion to approve? Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Janser?
Yes.
Olson? Yes. Pittner?
Yes.
Quadrigula?
Yes.
Ross?
Yes.
Sitma?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Motion is approved. 8.5 is approved plans and specs for the Well F Sundry Aquifer. This is project number 4681. The construction of Well F was approved at a previous city council meeting. The new well is being constructed to increase the raw water capacity to help ensure the water is available during the hot summer months when demand is high. Design for the new well is well underway and will be ready to be advertised for bidding soon, and plans and specifications are available in the Public Works office for review now. The recommendations to the council is to approve the plans and specifications and authorize the call for bids, and 2, approve the attached budget amendment to allocate funds for the procurement and construction.
Move approval.
Motion by Alderman Ross to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Alderman Pittner. Any discussion on the motion? Any discussion? So one small comment is to send the appreciation to the State Water Commission and the folks with NAS for approving this portion of that construction for the well. Final call for discussion. Seeing none, the motion is to approve. Please call the roll.
Ross?
Yes.
Sitma?
Yes.
Evans?
Yes.
Janser?
Yes.
Olson? Yes. Pittner?
Yes.
Quadrigula?
Yes.
Motion is approved. That takes us to number 9 on our agenda. This is personal appearances. This is an opportunity for anyone to come forward and speak either on any item that is on our agenda or is not on our agenda. We just ask that if you come forward to state your name and city of residence. One more time, a call for personal appearances. Seeing none, that takes us to item 10, that is miscellaneous and discussion items. We don't have any item specifically designated. Is there any one item that needs to be open for discussion for the council for the good of the order? All right, that takes us to our final item, and that is adjournment.
So moved.
Motion by Alderman Pittner, second by Alderman Ross. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We're adjourned.